the legislature who gets paid $10,000 less than a guy who posts on social media at Adeloop.
Uh, Hi, good morning, Chris and Sabrina. Thank you for that introduction, by the way.
Yeah, you know me. Click. Right, yeah. Thank you. Hi, bye. Just, I guess, Senator, let's start there. And I don't want you to attack anybody or whatever, but just the pay, right? People just have a big issue with just the salaries, right? Because they just seem so out of touch with what everyone else is making out here. Um, so I guess we'll just start there. I mean, do you have a reaction, a statement on that? Do you think that as a whole we should see salaries come down instead of, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we're dealing with a deficit, right? $100 million in the general fund deficit, as well as special funds, and yeah, just for me, I think we need to start thinking about reducing, cutting government. And this doesn't obviously the optics doesn't look good if we're increasing pay, right? And there has to be a justification, like you said. And I oversee agencies, that really need staffing. That a lot of people rely on. DRT, for instance, they could use more staffing. GSA is down to I think one buyer for the whole of the line agencies, and when we look at the latest release of the CARES Fund expenditures, I mean, luckily the federal government actually extended that. We weren't able to expend, the $118 million. We were up to $88 million. Had they not extended it, we would have left money on the table. And so I think, I think priorities is definitely needs to be evaluated. And we're coming into a budget cycle. We cut $60 million last budget. That was painful. Even at that, there was a request to increase it by $8 million, and boy, were we off, really off on that one. And so now we have to look at cutting another 100 million. I don't know how that's going to happen, right? Unless we come to the table and talk about how we're going to redirect these federal funds so that we can make a more informed decision about the budget cycle. So yeah, there definitely needs to be a change, I think, in how things are done. But yeah, I don't know if you wanted me to talk about other things.
No, I did. I just figured we'd ask you to chime in on.
You said coming to the table, but do you think the legislature will be actually invited to have a seat at the table, and how that 661 million is going to be divvied out?
Yeah, because the precedent was set that you guys have no authority over the CARES Act funds.
Yeah, that is true. It is under the discretion of the governor, but I think we're one community, right? We should all work toward the best of the interest of the community, and I think this is the time now to really forge a plan for economic diversification. We can't, even at the national level, Congress is pushing back, right? The Republicans are pushing back on the $1.9 trillion aid. And so we see the writing on the wall that we cannot continually expect to receive federal funds to bail us out. And we really need to put our efforts in diversifying this economy.
Yeah, Senator, it's not what I'm hearing, and kind of like just going off of what Director Ed Byrne was saying, is that this administration is anticipating the $600 million to come in, and then we're going to be all good. And so all this talk about people at Adeloop get paid too much or whatever, it's just going to be irrelevant because we're going to get $600 million, so it doesn't matter what the ER, or whatever says. That's kind of what I'm hearing.
Well, I hope that is not the case. That they're, just. I know I've seen that they are working towards diversification, but I wish that we were, more involved in this process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the plan for today, though? I mean, that's the thing, is like we may be getting this $600 million, but what about today?
As far as receiving funds.
Yeah. Do you think we should already be kind of doing what the judiciary is doing and maybe looking at reduced work hours? just to pinch pennies?
Um, well, I think, looking at the budget, I think, yeah, the judiciaries, I think pretty much, they have they look ahead, and they deal with the realities of today. And obviously they see that the allocations are not coming in. And so they're taking the steps that are necessary. And, that is the leadership that they have. And, I think likewise, we should do the same, is looking how perhaps even consolidating agencies, consolidating maybe services of agencies. If we don't have that clear plan in place, that's only reasonable, right? That's something that we can reasonably expect, unless we're told otherwise, right? How this money is going to be, distributed in a way. But for me, as always, I'm always looking for ways to sustain ourselves, and really, the economy the economy and our health is really the bottom line. And I'm glad the vaccinations are rolling out. I mean, that's great. We're seeing that take place, and we're seeing low positivity rates. I mean, that's a positive sign for businesses to start opening up, and that's great. But we still have yet to retool our economy. And one of the ideas, I mean, this is great. I had this conversation last night, and workforce development and this idea of diversifying our education. It's great to see allies in the community that are looking to start diversifying education at the elementary level. We need all these positions, construction, nurses, all these different expertise we need on Guam. And I think if we can, maybe leverage some of those federal dollars into these training programs, we can diversify economy and hopefully build resilience, when tourism shuts down again, or when tourism shuts down, we have an economy that's there to support us. And so that's something that I would like to push forward, in regards to this. And, now is the time, we can't expect federal funds to keep flowing in to save us. This is the time to do this, to make this change.
Talking about federal funds as the oversight or rev and tax, do you have any status on the EIP payments? Have you been hearing things? We get comments once in a while from people who haven't received the latest stimulus. What types of conversation do you have with the agency on this and other issues?
I think they've been doing diligently. I think one of the issues is their staffing again. So what in my latest briefing with the Department of Revenue and Taxation, so the maximum capacity in the building is 400. And so when it was PCOR 2, they had a 50% occupancy. I don't think that has changed as we move to PCOR 3. So DRT has about 150 employees on average. So which means they can only allow 50 people in the building, the public. And so that's one of the limitations as far as helping people face to face. Anybody who's interested in knowing about their EIP2 stimulus checks, I definitely recommend to use their online services because, yeah, the lines are super long and it's really hard to see somebody unless without an appointment. But I think also a lot of the calls that we're getting too in regards to driver's license and registration renewals, and I just want to make it clear that walk-ins are only accepted till noon every day. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is only for driver's license request, and Thursday and Friday is for registration only. So I know people have been frustrated as far as they wait in line and only to be turned away. So it's important to know that again, driver's license is only Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and registration is only Thursday, Friday. The other thing for registration, if you have, I believe there's certain insurance companies out there that can do registration for you. And, I think some of them might do them for free. So, please take advantage of that for the type of the registration. Also, I want to point out that starting in March, GRT must be filed online unless due to hardship. So there might be some exceptions due to hardship, but for now it's mandated. And so what's great about that is if you need to pay, the credit card fees are waived. Also, income taxes can be filed online, only the 1040 forms. And again, if you need to pay, you can pay online, but should you want to pay in person, you would have to do it at the Treasury locations. They're also accepting drive-through. If you want to drop off your income tax filings, you can drop them off too as well. So, I mean, if you want to avoid those lines, try to avail of the online services. Yeah, and so the other thing too, the issue, part of what what I do with oversight is I do a status check of how these agencies are operating and how to make them more efficient. And and again, these online services are really a big step towards that. But what's in the works is that they're also looking to interconnect with the different agencies to improve collections. And so, there was an audit that came out, I believe last year, regarding how we're losing collections when it comes to use tax. And it's a huge amount. I think it was $60 million, roughly estimated at $60 million. And so what this automation would do is would help close that gap in collections. And when we talk about, reduction in revenues coming in, this could be a potential way to offset those losses. So that's something that I'm very interested in with DRT, in addition to staffing issues. And so one of the things I pose too is, can we get the Guam National Guard to help out? Right, I know they're focused on a lot of the vaccinations, but a lot of the staffing are directing traffic, and so that takes them away from their job of processing, the payments, the stimulus payments. It takes them away from income tax. It takes them away from customer service. So, I think it's really important to have that added help from, hopefully from other agencies. I know the police department is there, but it's not enough to relieve the staff that are there to process these, process all the work that they're supposed to be doing, and which can help speed up it. And what it could lead to is overtime, and that's we want to try to avoid something like that. And, if they're being taken away from their job, and then it leads to overtime, I think it's it's time to look at maybe the help of the Guam National Guard to help out with this, if that's possible.
Have you heard anything, Senator, about these off-island contractors that come to do these military contracts and the payment of taxes? Are you aware of any leakage or areas where we're not covering those gaps, where these companies come in and get these contracts and maybe they're not registered or whatever locally?
Yeah, I was aware. Well, I don't have any specific cases, but I am looking into that, and I that's something the director is also looking as well, because there was roughly, I think, almost I forget how many hundreds of millions of dollars that we could be collecting taxes on, and I know that they have staff that is looking into that. I don't know how big their capacity is, but the other thing is subcontractors too, right? So, to what extent are not just prime contractors, are they paying their taxes, but also subcontractors, they are required to pay GRT. So that too, I believe, is also they're looking into those sort of things.
What's the issue?
Well, I'm not too sure, because I don't know if we are losing any funds, but
so we're just looking into it now at this point.
Senator, we did a story and we interviewed Senator James Moylan yesterday about his concerns about the RISE Act payments. And this is a program that is supposed to be administered through the Department of Revenue and Taxation, which you have oversight over. Have you had any communications with DRT on if and when this is going to be implemented?
I actually haven't. So that's something good on my to-do list. But yes, I mean, that's something with the $600 million coming into Guam. I mean, that's something that should be prioritized, and it is law. So definitely would follow up with that.
Okay.
Is that what you're going to do? Is you're going to say, hey, you got the $600 million, give me some of that for the RISE Act? Because Wasn't it supposed to be? There was no funding for it or something, right?
It was supposed to be prioritized with federal funds, and then CARES 1, they
Ran
used
out.
all the money. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it gave the option, okay, well, you have transfer authority, the
Right.
governor does, to pay out the I think it cost $30 million to fund it, right?
And who is eligible for that? Because I want to know who right now is getting the short end of the stick because someone didn't get the money for this program. It's obviously
No,
people in need. Like who's eligible for Rise Act?
You have to go back and look at the threshold levels. I imagine it's similar to the stimulus payments,
I see.
where if you make a certain amount, then you don't qualify. But yeah, right. It was sort of like an unfunded mandate,
Yeah.
depending on whether we received the federal funds. I guess that there was definitely a high likelihood that we were going to receive it, though. But we knew perfectly well that we weren't getting any local funds.
Right.
That was pretty obvious from both sides. We didn't have the funds, and now we, for sure we don't have the funds. $100 million short in the general fund.
You're the but
Did you vote in favor of this bill?
Excuse me?
Did you vote in favor of this bill?
I did. Yeah, I think most senators did. I don't recall if there was anyone that dissented on that one.
yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna be like, no, don't give them money.
Right, but this excludes Gov Guam employees, I think, right, and federal employees, because they were working throughout
The pandemic.
The pandemic,
Right. Yeah.
There was an amendment on. I have to go back and check, but I think it was there was an allowance if, let's say, I believe if your spouse was a government employee, then it would only apply to that the spouse that wasn't a government.
Right.
What about environment? What do you got going on as the environment chair?
So so I did get a briefing with Guam EPA. There were certain so basically like the recycling revolving fund, right? So I had to check in with them to see, how much is used. And so when looking at the recent CRER report, it's tracking way below. It's when we did the budget, it was expected to receive expected to receive 2.8 million, and now it's tracking at 2 million. And so what happened was the $500 was appropriated to G3 off the top, and then the mayors then got their initial round. I believe it was 800,000, and then they're going. They have up to 1.3 million. So that doesn't leave much left, right, with the recycling revolving fund, and we still need to. I think the mayors are expecting to collect more cars and white goods, and that is what the purpose of the recycling revolving fund. But that's at this point, so we don't know for sure what we actually are going to collect, considering especially with the bottleneck at DRT in regards to renewals of registration, car registration. So that is something that I'm looking at very closely, and also again how to push forward with the zero waste initiatives. I think that's important to kind of expand the use of our landfill. We can't. We need to figure out a way to not fill it up so quickly and look at ways to divert a lot of that waste stream. The other thing is aquifer, making sure the aquifer is safe, our water is safe to drink. And I know last term there was an issue about septic tanks, and it's my understanding that Guam EPA and GWA are working together to eliminate. They have a septic tank elimination program that it's funded by the Safe Drinking Water revolving fund. So there is a fund available. A lot of that money's been used for capital improvement projects, and so now I guess they're in talks about to expand the use of that monies to go towards hookups, sewage hookups. That's another thing that I've been working with Guam EPA on.
Have they talked to you about their staff shortages though? People who have been leaving, retiring, so they're losing a lot of people with that institutional knowledge, and then having a hard time as well recruiting people because they do have positions that are, very specialized that deal, with the environment. Have they kind of expressed that to you? Because we did have Guam EPA earlier this week, talking about the backlog of complaints that they do receive and just not being able to keep up because of the staff shortages.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Bree. And it's as much as I would like to have appropriated money from the general fund. It's very difficult to get that. When you have public health, you have Department of Education and public safety. We definitely need to find sources, and that's what this use tax would do. If we were able to collect more on the use tax, that money would go towards Guam EPA, right? And of course, enforcement is a big thing. So they just recently got, enforcement of violators. I mean, that's the other avenue of increasing their funds is ensuring that enforcement actions are followed through, and they're not relieved. These violators are not relieved of having to pay, and that's what we've seen in the past. The violators, the penalties, and so glad to see that they actually are following. I mean, of course, I don't want to see any violations, but they are following through with that, and that's another avenue.
Right. I know I did a bunch of stories on that, Senator, and, but I want to say it was kind of the last administration and leading into this one where people are getting the notices of violation, but it appears like the director has a lot of discretion in terms of like waiving fees or allowing these violators, instead of paying, to maybe provide some kind of service in lieu of cash. Right?
Yeah, thank you for that, that investigation. I think that definitely really helped bring to light and transparency in that.
Right. And I know that led to, I like to think it led to the law where they now have to publicly post the NOVs. And we did see a couple big fines on some military contractors. I want to say like there was one for, or a couple for like upwards of $100,000, right?
I'm not too sure, but I would have to go back and check on that.
Right. Did you guys?
Yeah, unfortunately, they're violating, right? We'd rather not have them violate and harm the environment. But it's good that they're exercising their regulatory.
Right.
Are you? Is there a virtual hearing today for Parks and Recs? I know that's not your oversight, but
Yes, that's happening now.
Are you going to be attending that once you get off?
I would jump into it, but I do have another schedule.
Oh.
Okay.
Are you going to the Spanish ship thing?
I was not planning on. I think they were limiting the amount to of people that are attending that event.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I know some of my friends on the segment wanted to go out and meet them, but I think they were told they can't or something.
I'm kind of concerned with Spain, right? They're close to the other variant of COVID, the UK variant. So I would still be cautious about interacting.
Right on. Senator, what about labor? You're also the labor oversight?
Yes, I am. And so since I had that info hearing, I'm glad to see some movement on the part of the efforts of Director Dave Delasola. So I know he was trying to push for some PUA, that they can award PUA to workers with reduced hours.
Right.
And he was able to get clarification and confirmation that those that are at home because they have to take care of parents or take care of their child, or COVID related, they would qualify because they had to reduce their work hours due to that. And I think the other thing was if you had two jobs and you were laid off with your permanent job, or if you considered one of your two jobs a permanent job and you still held on to a part-time job, then you could qualify for PUA. So I'm really glad that he was able to get that through. So the other thing I would like to maybe work on too is with him is the workforce development. And that's something that I'd probably be holding maybe a round table on that one with certain stakeholders in the community that are interested in workforce development. Because again, like I said earlier, we can't rely on the government, federal government monies continuously.
I think you need to send that memo to Adelup. Maybe Jim Moylan will write a letter.
Maybe you guys could use some of that 661 million to get a raise.
Yeah, so
Senators.
hopefully, yeah. I think the governor is working with the Chamber of Commerce, and it's the Chamber of Commerce I know that I've spoken to that were interested in workforce development. So there perhaps is, hopefully, we can develop a plan for that.
Right on. Labor, revenue tax, environment, procurement, right? Are you still the procurement chair? Let me ask you this. Riddle me this, Senator Sabina Perez. Do you think that we still need to be using emergency procurement at this point in the pandemic? Is there anything that's of such a great need that we can't do the regular process? Because I think we're still doing the emergency procurement, and if I'm not mistaken, the open government law is still suspended. But you can go to the bar, you can have a fundraiser, I don't know.
So here's how I see it. It's really just, I did pass the law about reforming emergency procurement last term, and it really kind of creates more flexibility. So should basically what it requires is that after 90 days, the agency has to hold a hearing on whether they should be granted the continuation of the emergency procurement. And so this is something that I'm glad you brought it up, because the agencies have to be aware of this law. At any of those, I believe there are 300 procurements, emergency procurements out there, and after 90 days, or before 90 days is up, they would have to hold a hearing about this procurement and provide justification on continuing with the emergency procurement. Otherwise, they would have to go through the traditional bidding process. And in the bill itself, it would require, I believe, 30 days prior. So I believe after 60 days into the procurement, they would have to hold this hearing, and so that gives them some time to put together bids. So really, I think starting, now it took effect in end of January, and so that would lead them up to April to start the bidding process. And I would highly recommend, if they see, if these agencies foresee that this procurement is going to last beyond, would have a more, maybe required for a longer period of time, I highly recommend that they start producing their bids for a longer term procurement. So yes, that definitely, thank you for bringing that up. And, it's important that the agencies know this, that they can't just rely on the emergency procurement. They would have to, start producing more of the traditional procurement bids. So I definitely thank you for bringing that up.
You're
I need to
welcome.
reach.
Yeah. What about the open government law? I've asked, hold on, stand by. Because I did get a statement from Crystal Paco, the Adelup Communications Director. I actually asked her like 3 weeks ago, and I got the answer. About the open government law, it's still suspended, even though we're in PCOR 3, and the statement from the governor's office: as we move closer to normalizing all government iguana operations, we're examining returning to regular application of statutory provisions regarding the holding of government meetings.
Also, we just got something from the congressman. Reduced hours, PUA will be paid, retroactive will be paid. In guidance issued February 25th, the U.S. Department of Labor has clarified that reduced hours workers shall be eligible for PUA and FPUC and eligible for accumulated retroactive payments therefrom. The support of our congressional colleagues and the prioritization of the Biden administration to ensure policy implementation aligns with statute has prevailed today. And that was from Congressman Michael Nicholas. Quote, as we have repeatedly asserted, this was not a problem with the law as so alleged, but a problem in interpretation. And we are grateful to the Biden administration for providing clarity in the midst of confusion. We can now all rest easy that our reduced hours workers will continue to receive the support they need as they work, however they can to contribute to the opening of our economy and the needs of their families and loved ones. God bless. Again, that was from Congressman Michael St. Nicholas. We just received this media release. Reduced hours PUA will be paid. Retroactive will be paid.
Wow, that's great timing, and congratulations to the congressman and all our success. I think as a group, we got the message through. The administration, I know too, also pushed for that. So yeah, thank you for that update. That's great. That's great to hear.
It's definitely great. That is good news.
I haven't read that that update, but I'm wondering because in the previous letter. Just to be kind of cautious, the backdating of claims. So if you filed before December 27, then you totally access the 39 weeks of PUA. But if you filed after December 27th, then you cannot backdate earlier than December 1st. So just a little information regarding that.
Okay. Yeah, we did invite him to come on, so I'm just waiting for a response.
Thank you, Senator. Anything in closing?
Yeah, I just am continuing to work on some legislation to help with the some of the issues that I'm seeing, and yeah, I'm also looking to improve customer service with DRT. So there's any kind of request from the community. I know this is a lot. We get a lot of calls from based on DRT customer service issues. And some things I would like to work on is having more satellite locations, if possible, if that would help before we move into opening up DRT. And I definitely, basically my office is open if you have any questions as well.
Okay, thank you, Senator.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.
You too. There you go, Senator Sabina Perez, 36th Guam Legislature.